guys, welcome to my office. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I mentioned in my most recent video that I wanted to do an organizational video and talk to you about just how I organize my life. And some of you said that you would be interested in that. So, hence the poor lighting, we're in my office. I really want to touch on 3 topics. So the first one is my calendars, how I stay organized with, I actually have 3 different calendars, which sounds like a lot, but stick with me, I promise it makes sense. So number 1 is going to be calendars. Number 2 is going to be productivity tips in general, like how I stay motivated to stay organized. And then the third topic that I want to touch on is how I clear my head, because I feel like having a clear mind really makes a difference when you're trying to organize your life. This video is going to be a 2-part series. In this video, I want to talk about calendars, how I stay organized with calendars. Before we get into the video, I do want to say that these are things that I try to do to keep my life organized, but they may not work for you. And honestly, they're not always working for me. Like sometimes I put these things on the back burner. My life is far from, put together and perfect. I'm sure you know that if you've watched any of my vlogs. So I'm sharing these with you guys in an effort to also motivate myself to stick with it. So with that said, let's just get into it. The first thing I want to show you is my calendar. And this is my personal and professional calendar. Some people like to have separate calendars to kind of compartmentalize, but I tend to work better when everything's kind of merged together. And that's kind of how my life is anyway. As a freelancer, that work-life balance is kind of out the window anyway. I share my calendar with my husband, obviously, but I have no coworkers, I have no boss, so there's really no point in sharing it with anyone else. So to demonstrate how I organize my calendar, I basically used another email address that I have and set up like a weekly sample of what my calendar would look like on a day-to-day basis. It's pretty much, honestly, it's pretty much the same thing as my daily calendar that I actually use, but I did want to remove some more private things that are included in my personal calendar. Before I show you the calendar, I do want to note that I saw a video by Hannah Witten, and she actually described how she organized her calendar, and I pretty much modeled it the same way. And she saw the video by another YouTuber, and I cannot remember her name, but I will link all of her information down below, including the original video, if you want to check that out. Okay, so this is my personal and professional Google Calendar. And as you can see, it's not super busy this week. And again, this is just a sample of what my actual calendar looks like. But so let me walk you through. It's super basic, but I just find that this system is so simple and so great. I love it so much. So first of all, I like to color code, obviously. And I put purple in here just, I don't know, to make it prettier, because working from 8 to 5 isn't always so fun. So I usually set aside blocks of time for work, because as a freelancer, I don't know, I think people expect me to just kind of be around and available during the day, but that's not always the case. Even though I have that flexibility, I like to block off time, because usually I am working from 8 to 5 anyway. I don't know if you can hear my cat purring, by the way, but she's sitting in my lap and being really loud. So anyway, so up here I have daily tasks. Everything in yellow is a daily task. So if I have an event, if I have somewhere to be, or if I'm blocking off time for whatever reason, I'll put it in my actual scheduled calendar here. You'll see that I have, fun things going on in the evenings. I have work stuff. I have appointments, calls with authors, appointments. I have my exercise scheduled in here. So it really is personal and professional stuff merged into one. But what I like about this is really the to-do list, because I've always liked the Google Calendar setup the way it looks, but I didn't really find it practical. I used to use the bullet journal a lot, and I'm still a fan of the bullet journal. But what I like about this is that you can see your week or your month or your day clearly mapped out, but you can also put in to-do lists very easily. So all you have to do is create a list, whether it's, doing laundry, and you click all day instead of a set time. I usually make mine all the same color. Unless it's a deadline of some sort, I like to make that red just so I know what's coming up. And so you have your list up here at the top, and it just follows you no matter what time of day it is. You can see it clearly. And then when you're done with that task, you can just delete it, and it's great. I don't know, there's something just so satisfying about being able to delete tasks and see. And here you can see that I've scheduled this as a daily or reoccurring event. So I'll usually click only this instance once I am done with it. So this is what I've got going on today. I've already done a few of these things, so I will just delete them, the things that I've done, which honestly I still have a lot to do. And yeah, there you have it. It's just so nice to see your to-do list disappear throughout the day. And I like being able to see everything all together. And I like that you can schedule certain tasks every day, or like Saturdays. I like to buy groceries on Saturdays for every single Saturday until the end of time. And I've got Give Pets Meds. So this is a monthly thing. I actually haven't put it in there yet, but every month around the 23rd, I will have this task in there so that I can easily remember to give my pets their medicine. So I like it as a weekly planner, but I also like being able to see the whole month. And as you can see, I've only scheduled in this 1 week here as an example, because this isn't an email address that I use a lot. But and then all of these 8 p.m. Get Some Headspace notifications are in there from an app that I have that I'm actually going to talk about later on. I also like Google Calendar. I don't know, this is probably super basic for you guys. You probably all have Google Calendars, but I've just always been a pen and paper kind of gal, and so I've been slow to jump on the technology train, especially when it comes to organization, but I'm really loving this so far because I can sync it to my phone. I can see everything on my phone, on my computer, whenever I need it. Basically, I can share my calendar with my husband. I can sync my calendar with other people, although I don't really have a need to do that because I don't have a boss or coworkers. So it's really nice to kind of just have it available whenever I need to. And to be able to quickly change things is really nice too. If I have a yoga class, for instance, that the time changes or that class is canceled, I can just easily delete all of the events in the series. So this is super basic. I know some of you are probably already do this, but this is a new thing for me, and I find that having the task list up top is really, really nice. Okay, so even though I use my Google Calendar religiously, I also love to have a paper planner. I like to take this with me to coffee shops or appointments, or anywhere that I can just throw it in my bag easily, just when I want to unplug from my phone a little bit. And also there's something about physically writing out a list that I really enjoy, but it's not the same thing as, I don't usually write the exact same thing as what I put in my Google Calendar. So I'll just go ahead and show you. First of all, this planner is beautiful, and it's from Rifle Paper Company. I'm obsessed with it. It's a 17-month planner. So it starts in August, and it has the monthly overview. It has important dates. It has, I don't know if you can see this very well, a notes section. Actually has, room to write with a notes section. And then you have the monthly, actual weekly to-do list section. So I actually got this planner in September, I think, so August was never touched. So I wanted to write out a sample of what I might write on a daily basis, just so you guys can see. I wrote it somewhere in August. Let's see. So here's my sample list, and really it's just a to-do list. Very similar to the bullet journal. I put in these little symbols to kind of show you guys that I do enjoy the bullet journal. I've, if I don't actually complete a task, I would migrate it over to the next day or the next week. If a task is no longer relevant, I'll mark it through with a line. If I complete it, I'll check it. So I have my little key symbols that are familiar to people who use the bullet journal. And I actually really enjoy the bullet journal. I did it for about 2 years, from 2014 to probably halfway through, towards the end of last year, actually. And I enjoyed it, but I think I was too much of a perfectionist, and I spent way too much time on the bullet journal. I was just obsessively writing things down, and it wasn't actually productive for me. But that said, I totally, recommend the bullet journal to people. I think it's a great system. It's a great analog system. If you haven't heard of it, definitely check it out, bulletjournal.com. It's a great analog system for people who want to be organized and creative. And I think it especially works well for people who merge their personal and their work life. But for me, I am trying to simplify. So I have these just to-do lists here. And oftentimes they're similar to what I put in my Google Calendar. Sometimes I write a little bit more in this one, maybe more mundane tasks that I just like to write down so that I can cross them off, if I'm being honest. So here's what's different, though, about my physical planner. I do something called the 1-3-5 priority list. And I don't know if this is a popular thing, but I just discovered it one day and really latched onto it. The idea is that you write out your list, and then you go back and you read it and you start prioritizing, one being the biggest priority of your day, whether that's the biggest project, what will take up the most time, if it's time sensitive, if it's on a deadline or something like that. Usually it'll be something like edit 50 pages of manuscript for me personally. So I'll mark that as my biggest task, and then right away I know what I need to prioritize that day, and usually I'll try to start off with my biggest tasks so that I can, if I don't get anything else done that day, I know that I at least tackled my biggest priority. And then after that, you go and organize 3 other tasks that are usually medium-sized tasks. They might not take up as much time as the first priority, but they're still huge tasks. So for me, I marked this one, I marked this one, and I marked this one. And those are all things that I would love to do today. This is one that I'm doing right now. So go me. I'm going to go ahead and check that off. So you have your 1 priority task, you have your 3 priority tasks, and then you go back and you tag 5 other tasks that are a little bit smaller, tasks that you could kind of knock out pretty easily, but they're still important to your day. And that's just kind of how I do it. I just put the number beside the task item, and it just helps me schedule my day so much easier. It really helps me to feel less anxious, to know what I have to tackle that day, what's really important, and it kind of helps you zero in on, the important things. So as you can see, there are some things in here that are not tagged because there were too many other ones that were more of a priority. That doesn't mean that I'm necessarily not going to respond to or update my emails. It just means that it's less of a priority. So if I don't get it done that day, it's okay. The world will go on. And you'll see that I have, personal events and things like that. I don't typically tag those as priorities because I'm actually going to do them. But if it's like yoga or something, that's something that it's tempting to just skip. So I try to make it a priority so that I can, stay on top of my physical and mental health. So it's really simple. But again, that 1-3-5 list is something you can do on a scrap piece of paper. You don't have to have a fancy planner or anything, but I find that it's easier to do that by hand than to try to organize it in my Google Calendar. So the last calendar that I use all the time is this whiteboard. And this is really just a whiteboard to update Aaron and for him to update me on what's going on. Sometimes I forget to tell him when I plan a social engagement, and you know, this is a way for him to make sure that I wasn't kidnapped. Scout wanted to say hi. This is actually pretty bare, to be honest, because I don't update it as much as I should. But it's really handy with just, you know, we include appointments and social things like my sister's baby shower, big events that we need to look at for the whole month. But I'll also put important things like give pets medicine in case I forget to check that off my task list on my Google Calendar. And I also like this little section here that's just notes. Usually I'll put dates here, upcoming dates for the next month, just so we don't forget about them. And that's really it. I tried to color code it, but honestly, it's just kind of what it is. It's pretty bare, but it does the job. And I just recommend, even if you don't have an actual whiteboard calendar, it's really nice for your family or your roommates to just have like a community calendar. So you just make sure that you're all in sync.